Hey there, welcome back to my channel. My name is Allison, and today I want to talk about this. Seriously, I know it's overused, but it was truly life-changing for me as a person recovering from burnout and has struggled with burnout for years, a different approach to setting New Year's resolutions. So if you are someone that is struggling with burnout and feeling a lot of pressure during this time of the new year, I really hope you'll keep watching, because in this video, I'm going to share with you that life-changing mindset shift that really changed the game for me with my burnout and the way that I approach goal setting, resolutions, intention setting for the year, and also that shift and what it leads to in terms of really being able to heal from your burnout, but also make moves on your goals. As someone that has healed a lot from my burnout, I'm going to guess that you're fluctuating between two types of emotions right now as we're in the new year. You are either in the mode of really wanting to set a bunch of resolutions and goals and map them out with sub bullets, because one of our tendencies as being burnt out can be to really try to control more, thinking if we figure out exactly how to set those goals, hit those resolutions, then we can rest, right? There's always this feeling of if I only do all of these things, then I can finally rest. Because with burnout, we feel so exhausted so many times. And so there is a tendency to over control. So I'm going to guess that you are in this camp. And if that camp doesn't resonate with you, you're probably in its polar opposite, which is complete apathy, total overwhelm, numbed out. Resolutions don't matter. Why are we even setting goals in the dead of winter? I want nothing to do with this. I'm not even setting goals this year. Maybe I'll pick a word of the year. And so if either of those two camps are you, again, I totally understand, because I spent a lot of years fluctuating between these two energies during the new year. On this channel, I love to talk about intentional living and conscious consumerism. And a part of that intentional living I have found and has been super healing for me is living more with the cycles and seasons of the natural world, celebrating things like winter solstice, spring equinox, summer solstice, and allowing myself to ebb and flow and change with the natural world around me. So with that comes a resistance to being in this very go-getter energy, setting resolutions during the dead of winter. Winter solstice energy, I have a whole video on it, is very intuitive, introspective. It's a dream state. And so I approach goal setting with that sort of dream state mind, not that get out the spreadsheet, build all of the goals. And it has been such a game changer for me. But until last year, what I realized I was doing year after year with my burnout, when I pull back out my notebook and I look at the goals and intentions, resolutions, whatever you want to call them for the year before, I kept feeling like I was on repeat. And maybe you're having the same experience too. I kept feeling like I was writing similar things and I was never arriving. I was writing intentions around wanting to experience great health in my life, continue to deepen my relationships with my friends, family, and within my marriage, wanting to deepen my spiritual practice. And this is the crux of that life-changing approach for me, because every single new year, I would look back at that list and I'd be like, yeah, I did some great things, and I made these new friends, or I deepened these relationships. I prioritized my marriage in this way. I prioritized my health in this way, but it never felt like enough. It never felt like I arrived at the goal of having the perfect health. Someone that struggles with autoimmune issues, it's going to be a lifelong journey for me. So what I realized is that I was using this time, this really wintry, dreamlike, intuitive, intention setting time around the new year to crystallize my core values. And when I pulled those out and listed core values of mine, it changed everything for me. So what I want to encourage you to think about is, are your goals feeling repetitive? Are they feeling like you're never getting there? And that is such like a cycle that people on burnout that we struggle with, is just feeling like the treadmill is never ending and we can never arrive somewhere. And when I changed the mindset of realizing that these are like lifelong core values of mine, like prioritizing friendships, like my marriage, my health, my spiritual development, like those are things that are not going to go away, but not setting them as like goals to achieve every year and then getting to the end of the year and then beating myself up. Isn't that such a cycle? At least it's a cycle that I have fallen into for a lot of years. And so last year, when I pulled out my journal with my 2024 intentions and resolutions, and I was just like, I am so sick of myself and saying these same things year after year. And I did some really like deep, beautiful meditations around the winter solstice. And what bubbled up is that these are like foundational anchors in my life. And when I pulled them off of the resolution goal pillar and I laid them in this, like, these are my core values, these are things that I want to be a foundation of my life, it took off so much pressure. It allowed me to be so much more like gentle and loving with myself. It also gave me a lot of conviction around like knowing what my core values are. So if you are hearing this and like, I don't know what the heck my core value is, I don't know what that means, like that seems too overwhelming, I will leave you some journal prompts down below. Thinking about these categories of your life, of like your mind, your body, your spirit, your relationships, what really like puts your heart on fire, what really is like you'd go to bat for even when you're like in the depths of your burnout and have like running on an empty tank, like what would you stand up for and prioritize still in your life? And when I realized that these pieces of my puzzle were a part of my core values and not meant to be in this like resolution, goal setting, constantly trying to achieve, and more thinking of it as like life is a journey, life is like a long wandering path. But for me, knowing what my core values are as I wind that path of life as a journey has been so healing this year. So what I've done is, on these anchor moments in the wheel of the year that I celebrate, like the solstice and the equinoxes, I've gone back to my core values. I've read them over again. I asked myself, is this still a priority for me? Yes. Am I actually prioritizing the things that I say are most important to me? Maybe not so much this one. This one I feel like I am. And there are these anchor points that we can root into that don't have metrics tied to them. And I think that was what was feeling so disheartening and allowing myself to beat myself up at the end of every year, is because I didn't have like a way to measure if I succeeded. Did I achieve that goal? You know, the classic New Year's resolution of losing weight, which is like not my vibe at all, but like it's very tangible to see. In my world, it's like the amount of books I read. This year, I set a goal of reading 35 books. I actually ended up reading 49, which I'm incredibly proud of, but that's like a very metric-based goal. That's very different than like, did I prioritize the relationships in my life? That's a little more nebulous and something that you can sit with yourself and you can say like, I am prioritizing it, I'm not, and how can I do that better? But there's no like achieving at the end of the year, like, yep, I achieved that resolution. And taking that pressure off of yourself, off of myself, as someone that struggles with burnout, is so, so important. Because so much of burnout is that just feeling like we can't get off the wheel, the hamster wheel, the treadmill, to rest, or like once you X, Y, and Z again, then you can rest. I want to encourage you to take some time during this winter time. Doesn't matter if it's not on the first of the year. It is in this wintry space from the winter solstice through like the end of January, in this deepest part of the winter, take some time. Like, what are your core values? Again, I will leave journal prompts for you down below of like categories to think of. And I hope that you can see the magic in taking these year to year. So now that we are crossing over from 2025 to 2026, I'm pulling back out those core values of mine, rereading them, re-reviewing them. They all still resonate, and I'm going to carry them with me into the new year. Now that I have those distinctly separate, then I set myself some like more of these tangible goals. And how I set those goals to be in alignment with recovering from burnout is I focus on how I want to feel. I only set about 3 to 6 a year. I'm still refining them. I definitely am going to set a book goal again because I want to feel more at peace. And in my evening time, when I scroll on my phone, I do not feel at peace. When I read a book, I feel more peaceful. I feel more like my brain is more chilled out. It's single focused on one storyline. It's not pinging around with every single reel jumping up in front of my face, pulling my attention here and there and everywhere. Reading books has become such a way that I can support myself in feeling the way I want to feel. Setting goals when you're recovering from burnout and you are on a journey of creating more peace and rest intention in your life. It's so important to focus on how you want to feel because that is really a driving, motivating factor. Reading 35 books that I set for myself at the beginning of 2025, it was a goal, but the reason why I actually went after it month after month, downloading more books from the library, checking out more books, reading them, was because I was seeing myself healing from spending less time on my phone and more time reading. So that was driving me to achieve that goal. It wasn't so that I could put on my Fable app and share online, like, I read 49 books this year. Like, that wasn't going to drive me to keep reading come September, right? But I was reading all year because I was really driven by this desire to feel peace. And so when you get to the goal setting part, after you've set your core values and you've moved on to like, what do you really want to achieve this year? Do you want to have a more peaceful, decluttered home? And do you want to feel more like cozy and at ease in your home and declutter a bunch of your house? That is a very motivating factor. I did that in 2025, like donated a bunch, sold on Poshmark. I'll link my Poshmark down below. Had yard sales, asked friends and family if they wanted things, like decluttered room by room, drawer by drawer, closet by closet in this house. And already had a minimal home, but things build up and I wanted to be really intentional about how I was spending my money and my time. My low buy journey last year was super impactful for me with making sure that I was aligning my values with my purchases. I will be doing a recap of my low buy for 2025 and how I'm going to edit it and keep it up in 2026 because it was so supportive of me. Again, like getting off my phone, online shopping endlessly when I was trying to self-soothe. I have some videos about how to stop mindlessly shopping. If you're interested in low buy journey or being more of a conscious consumer, I'd love for you to subscribe and hang out on this channel. All of those things were driven by how I want to feel in my home, how I want to spend my time when I'm not at work. Setting goals that are more tangible but are rooted in how I want to feel is so much more impactful and actually had me keeping it up all year than when I was constantly being like, I want to prioritize my health because of like these health issues I have with my autoimmunity. And then like every year I'd get to December and be like, okay, well, I saw some progress with this, but I still have these things I'm struggling with. So I guess I didn't achieve anything this year. And guess what? It's the new year and I still want to prioritize my health. And I would just be like constantly in that cycle of beating myself up. So defining my core values, checking in on them throughout these anchor points of, for me, the wheel of the year, you could set a monthly Google reminder for yourself to re-review them, be honest with yourself. Are you prioritizing the things that you say are most important? And then you can have your goals that are like rooted in like tangible actions, like decluttering the closets, decluttering your kitchen, reading a certain amount of books, like going to a certain amount of yoga classes a month, whatever it is. And then those can sit separately and you can work at those. But if those are rooted in how you want to feel, separate from the things that you always want to be a foundation in your life, has been so healing on my burnout journey. And I hope that you will find this approach helpful too. If you want to share with me any of the goals that you're setting for the upcoming new year, I would love to know. I am definitely setting myself some book reading goals. I'm going to be refining my low buy journey, doing it again for 2026. And, I have some other things with like work life balance with my day job and things like that I'm thinking of, that I'm going to use this wintry dreamlike space to set myself some goals. If you are interested in more intentional living and seasonal living, I recommend checking out my winter solstice video here. It is still super relevant, or my how to stop mindless shopping. I think that these will both be really supportive of you if you are struggling with burnout. All right, I hope that you found this video helpful. I am wishing you a beautiful new year. And if you want to keep learning about intentional living, low buy journeys, conscious consumerism, how to heal from burnout, I'd love if you subscribed and stuck around on my channel. Follow me over at Instagram at @simplyallison, where I share more burnout recovery tips. I will see you in my next video. Happy New Year, everyone.